Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the True North podcast, creating new realities through cosmic consciousness. I am here today with my dear friend and colleague, Melisa Keenan. She is the founder and CEO of the Hope Publishing Enterprise. She's an amazing woman. She's been an intimacy coach in her past iterations and has a lot of really beautiful projects. Melissa, thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you?
Great. I'm so glad to be here.
Good. Yeah. I am so excited to dive into what you've created in the south of France for September, the Remember Your Wild Roots retreats. As we start sharing this with our audience, I'm dying to know, like, how did you come upon the Magdalene path, and what's your journey been through her history?
Oh, it's been so special. It started with a simple question. A friend asked me, "Do you know about Mary Magdalene?" And then she said, "No, like, do you really know?" And I did not. Literally such an unassuming question. And it led me on this journey of searching, and first it was podcasts, and then I was deep diving into books and really seeking to understand who she is. Yeah, it's been life changing.
Yeah. How long ago was that for you?
That was in the beginning of 2021.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What has yeah, life changing. Like, how did it start? I mean, the name of your retreat is also like Magdalene Codes, and you kind of play on that theme a lot. How did the codes kind of start awakening layer by layer inside of you?
There's actually kind of two sides to this story because at the same time, France was calling me. And I didn't actually know for about a year, 2 years that these two things were one and the same. I was doing a lot of genealogical research, and I have a bunch of French royalty and all kinds of like really cool historical documents and journal entries, and I had started looking up like the places that they had lived, the documents about where they were christened, what, cathedral, and discovering that I have like there's like bed and breakfasts that I can go to where several of my ancestors for generations like born and died, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
um and at the same time, I'm learning about how Mary was in France. The whole time I was like, Mary was in France? Like, what is this? Like, um, and so I started looking at some of the sites and being like, do any of these like cross over? And what I discovered is I have an ancestral record of someone who died as a Cathar in one of the Cathar castles.
I just got full chills. Yeah.
And the Cathars, people may or may not know, are people who are believed to have continued in the teachings of Mary Magdalene and continued practicing the like gnosis spirituality that she brought to France. And ultimately, the entire population of Cathars were exterminated with basically one final swoop of 1 million of them at Montségur. And yeah, I was like, oh, wait a second. My ancestors are talking about France, and all this teachings about Mary is talking about France. And suddenly I'm like, this is coming to me from multiple angles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting chills. I mean, and the heresy that the Cathars were accused of renouncing the Roman Catholic Church and putting a priest or a church in between themselves and their connection to God and these codes, and they literally just carrying out. They lived, apparently, I've heard that they were vegetarian, that they were like the most peaceful little village, and all their wrongdoing was just like not accepting the church as the mediator between them and God. And they actually followed the sacred union teachings of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and were the Grail keepers, and they got massacred for it. I mean, the whole story. If people connect to the Cathars like on an emotional level, then they probably have some kind of lineage, or
Yeah.
codes from there. I think that that's such a beautiful way for the Magdalene to carry you into this work and introduce you to it is just this inner awakening. It sounds like you've had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then there was a third layer to that, which was that I was constantly learning things about different goddesses, and then realizing how many connections Mary has to all of these goddesses, ways that she embodied their teachings or um, connected to these ancient goddess or pagan worship sites in France, and learning how France is actually way old. Like, I just thought, if we follow the evolutionary timeline, France would be a relatively new established country, and there's cave carvings of vulvas that are believed to be 35,000 years old or more. So France has these like deep roots in ancient goddess worship. And I think that's part of why Mary was there. She was there like doing this work and connecting women and herself and others to these teachings that have tried to be squashed out, and the teachings will not.
Refuse to be. And I think I was telling you earlier, totally plays on this thing that this woman that I met recently said. We met at a restaurant randomly here in Mount Shasta. And I told her about the retreat because she said that she was a tour guide in Ireland and Scotland. I said, oh, do you happen to do France or the south of France? And that's when we kind of connected on the Mary Magdalene stuff. And she knew nothing about any of this. She said that she had basically like a spontaneous like knowledge and awakening to this. It came internally and just spontaneously. So
Hmm.
the fact that these teachings can't be squashed and this energy, the divine feminine that's moving through the earth even right now, Mother Gaia, like it's reaching the people that are again awakening to their probably their lineage, past lives, the codes within them to this. And I think it's such a testament to like this has a divine orchestration. All the people that are being called to take this path right now in the south of France, it's all for like this divine moment in time.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think that it's important to lend gratitude to the many different cultures who have preserved ancient spiritual practices of connecting with the earth and connecting with, all of our allies like spirit animals and plants and herbs, and how that connects with our cycles and the planets and all of that. Because really, so much of, if you're not looking for dogma and you're just looking for like resonance, so much of these things all converge, and
Yes.
it's really beautiful. And like, what does that mean for me? Like, this is a scary time to be alive. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I also feel so much gratitude, like, that I can choose into these things, and I feel them like waking up in my own body. What a time. Because, even my grandmother, if she had felt these ways, wouldn't have been able to act on these impulses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's both a blessing and like definitely a blessing. I love that you spoke to the gratitude, but it's also like how like I mean, even for the time now, and this is probably like one of the first times in history that women can come out in this way, and the power of the feminine can really rise without us being completely like uh, persecuted for it, you know. And but we still, and I know your story about coming out of Mormonism, and I have a kind of a similar story with a very spiritual path upbringing of like certain like you know spiritual like lanes and all this, and like when you're raised in something so like strong and had such a stronghold on how we were, what we felt growing up, to be able to wake up to it outside of the dogma, outside of established anything, is it's really such like a co-creative path. If you're comfortable with it, I'd love to ask like how you have reconciled, as I love so much of what you already talk about with your story of coming out of Mormonism, like how like the bravery that it took for you to realize that you were connected to this, to pursue it, to then like, I mean, you left the church not officially not what a year ago. Like, I'd love for you just to speak more into that. It's such a beautiful thing.
I feel a lot of gratitude on the one hand to my time in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because before that I was Christian, and not Catholic, Christian. There was no female spiritual anything. I think at least the Catholics can pray to Mary and they can, they have saints and things that they can connect to. There was no female anything to connect to. And the Mormons believe that we have a heavenly mother. And I didn't even know that when I first joined. It was something I learned like as I was deepening in my studies of, what we believed and everything, because it's kind of a hidden teaching. There's like all these sort of rules and restrictions around like what you can and can't do with your belief that you have a heavenly mother, including not speaking to her. That was a breaking point for me because I had seen old prophets or leaders of the church, old talks, like early 1900s type old, where they had said, like, no, it's not appropriate to pray to anyone besides Heavenly Father. That's it. But I was like, surely they don't still, feel that way. And there was a conference and I had developed this relationship with Heavenly Mother. I had created my own altar in my home. I had just like allowed myself to go to these places and really question, like, who is she? Because I feel lost and following this male pathway is not bringing me happiness. Like, who is she? And what is her in her fullness? Like, surely she's not just only floaty and focused on homemaking. And so, and I went to this talk, this big, international broadcast, and they reiterated this teaching because they know women are doing this. Like they knew women are starting to do this thing with Heavenly Mother, and they said it's not appropriate to pray to your Heavenly Mother. And I'm like, I have a mother, and I'm not supposed to talk to her. Like, what? I was so devastated. I felt like I was being ripped in two. And I just sat there like angry, crying. I was in a public place. I was like in the church building and immediately went to my church leader afterwards. And he was so sweet, but he was also like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is what they said, you know?
Oh, goodness.
That was a really big shelf breaking moment for me. And as I continued to seek her, it was so different than trying to find a God, a male God, and my relationship that I had formed with a male God. It was like there were no whispers. None of it was in my mind. All of it was felt like deep and like in nature. And it was so much more wild and unstructured. And this is what led me into looking at Mary and seeing how Mary lived and like this gorgeous, radiant, powerful woman who was, by the side of Yeshua, and we get to we get to see some more glimpses into like a tangible woman and what that looked like to be in her fullness. And then every time I followed her, I found myself learning about another ancient goddess. All of it to me is a mirror holding up a reflection to especially all the shadow parts of me that I had been taught to shut down, hide, oppress, push away. And the journey of like peeling those layers back is like both deeply joyful and liberating and insanely painful. And I think anybody who's still listening and has a relationship to Mary knows like it's how it goes.
It will literally rock your world.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. And thank you for sharing all that. That's so heartfelt, and just I had goosebumps the entire time. It's such like a common thing that women are trying to find. Where's our place in spirituality? I mean, in any religion, it's masculine forward. It's patriarchal. Like across any culture besides the early feminine womb revering cultures. Any kind of like spirituality or religion is all based on masculine understanding of it. And so this is part of that collective awakening that we're having, that we're all looking for our place. Like, well, what is my spiritual authority? What do I know to be true? What do I feel to be true? And how can we navigate these times when, I mean, frankly, like some of the biggest masculine structures are crumbling right now. I think women, like, we are being called to step in because we've seen how, like, centuries of male dominated culture has gone. The wars that we're seeing, the distress that we're seeing in the world, like, what is it going to look like when women step into more of that authority, both as spiritual leaders and then even just secular 3D leaders, to really bring balance back. And I think that's the whole point of all of this, is the restoration of this balance. And that's what the Grail was about. That's what the Cathars protected, is this balance. And we're so far out of balance right now that, women are really being called into just changing the way that they do things and see things and feel things, even about themselves.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important to say too, like in this whole awakening and even what Mary brings, like she has something for the men too. And that I see it more as like the feminine energy that lives in all of us, no matter what your gender is, begging for some attention, begging for some opportunity to take up space, because like anybody who's studied anything about the patriarchy knows that the men are trapped in that system as much as anybody. Like I can't imagine anciently these men, all the soldiers, all the wars, all the, like, how could they have felt like they were living in their truth unless they had to completely cut the feeling side of them off. And I see that in our men today as well, like, and this awakening of like, wait, like maybe I could also be authentic. Maybe I could relate through love and those sorts of things. So yeah, I completely agree. And there's an absolute movement happening around Mary Magdalene and around divine feminine in general. And it's not just for the women, for sure.
Yeah.
However, our retreat is just for the women.
Yeah. And that's such a good reminder for people, because when we yeah, it's so not gender based. It's like we all have this energy of the divine masculine and feminine within us, and in order to see in the outer world outside of us restore that balance, we have to restore it in ourselves first too. And I think women are stepping into, yes, both their divine feminine, but also their masculine too, in balance, because that's what carries them forward and creates the container for their safety if we can't trust ourselves. And for men, inviting that feminine space back into themselves, that they don't have to be so like Mars and aggressive and rigid, and allowing themselves to relax into their own feminine too.
Yeah.
So next year, you are bringing an entire group of women to the south of France, September 3rd through the 10th, for the Remember Your Wild Roots retreat. Tell me a little bit more about how that came into creation and what your intentions are for the ladies that will be joining.
Yeah, I have known that I wanted to go. I have felt this call. It's been 5 years that I've been feeling this call to France. And every year, doors would close, and I have not gone yet myself. And I just continued to be on the spiritual journey with it. Like France has literally been on a spiritual journey with me for 5 years. And like, what's the meaning? Help me understand. All in divine timing. Like, help me understand, what this is meant to be. And I have gone through a huge transformation during that time. What I realized about this retreat is that many, many retreats like this, we're calling this a pleasure pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is often guided by a guru. And this is not guided by a guru. This is an invitation for all of us to bring our inner guru. And that's really different. When I was a part of the Mormon church, I would go on these pilgrimages. We didn't call them that, but that's the essence and intention. And you get to the sacred sites, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're so close to the authorities now. We're so close to the spiritual energy or whatever right now. From a place of like, there it is outside of me. And this pilgrimage is very much like, no, this is for the women who know who they are, and they just want vaster and vaster permission to fall into that, to expand into that, where we go to these sacred sites and we touch the stones, and no one's there to tell you what that means for you or why you felt that way. That you get the space and the honoring in community to investigate that for yourself and alchemize what you came to alchemize so you can come back fuller and more embodied. And I'm bringing in the energy of pleasure because that's been the biggest medicine that Mary has brought me, and connecting to my divine feminine has brought me. And so, it's for those who definitely know that play and pleasure and joy and all of that is the medicine. It's not the reward after all the hard work. It is the strategy to expand and grow and all of the ways that that you want to be in the world.
That is so beautiful. Like, it is the strategy. And I think, like, as females, we've been conditioned and programmed to, like, overserve and put ourselves last, and, like, this is such like a no, this is for you to have fun and be in play and be with your sisters and to use that as a way of going through life. And when you activate that, that so many women are missing, myself included. I've only recently tapped into this, probably because of your influence planning this retreat with you and regulating my nervous system and doing all these things. But it's like, now I forgot what I was going to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a heartfelt thing. It's like that then becomes a way. Oh yeah, the anchoring into a container like this, where there's going to be like a before and after. This isn't just like a retreat. You'll go, you'll have fun, it'll be amazing, you'll have some really great experiences. But for women who need to tap into this as a way of being, as pleasure and play, as the medicine that their soul needs, there's a before and after. You'll come back and be able to reinfuse your life with this concept of like, you deserve to play, you deserve to have fun, you deserve to enjoy this life. And that can mean putting yourself first and putting your play first. And
Yep.
I really wanted to call to that because it's part of my own personal journey of like why this retreat needed to happen.
Yeah, and I think that it would be false advertising to not speak to that this is an initiation, and calling on the energy of the Magdalene to midwife you to the retreat and after the retreat. Like, it is an initiation. When I think especially as women, because we are so connected to our families and to the caretaking and things that we're responsible for, and stewarding in our lives, there's this like, yes, like, okay, can I take away the time? Do I have the finances to spare? There's those, but really what's underneath all of those is like, if I change this much, if I really allow myself, like my inner power that I know is so vast, to be unleashed and set free and step in my sovereignty even in a deeper layer in this way, will my family still be okay? What kind of like stuff is it going to shake up? And that's why I feel it's really important to like create community. So there will be community created with those who come leading up to the retreat, and community afterwards as well, to know that you're held in that space. And like, I really operate from this principle that if something is truly in the service of my highest and greatest good, then I know it is in the service of the highest and greatest good of all around me. And I'll speak from experience that taking a radical step like this and knowing this is initiating me, because I had to say yes, way deep ago in the creation of this thing, I see these initiations happening in my family and the ripple effect happening in my family. And it's not always easy, but I'm here for it because I really believe that if it's in the service of my highest and greatest good, it is in the service of the highest and greatest good of those around me.
Yeah, that is so powerful. Let that land for people. Beautiful. How can people get a hold of you if they wanted to ask you questions, hop on a call, or find out more about the retreat?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we've got a great website with Orion Retreats. The landing page is gorgeous, but I'd love to just have a conversation. You can always email me at mk@melisakeenan.com and just have a conversation. If you feel a little nudge, don't let all the how and things get in the way. Let's just talk about it. And it's never my job to convince anybody to do anything that I'm doing. I build communities left and right everywhere in the publishing company and all the things that I do. It's not my job to convince anybody to come on this retreat, but to be there as a support to help navigate as you come to your inner hell yes or your inner hell no. And both are hugely celebrated by me.
They really are, guys. Beautiful. Melissa, I just want to say that it has been such an honor to witness you in such like this new layer of the Melissa that I knew before. I had been involved with a previous book about Mount Shasta, and she was the publisher, and I knew you in that capacity. And now to see you in this capacity has really been heartwarming and touching for me. Just as a co-sister and a co-woman, like I just love everything that you're bringing to this, and I love who you are. And single time that I hear you speak, I'm like, there is so much to this incredible woman. And even if I wasn't a part of planning the retreat, I know that this is something that needed to be created and born, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. So,
Thank you so much, Lauren.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. So, all right, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.